The police caution runs like this. You do not have to say anything, but it may harm your defence if you do not mention something which you later rely on in court. Anything you do say may be given in evidence. The challenge for an interpreter is to render something said in one language to a speaker of another language, so that the second person understands what was in the first person's mind. The interpreter has to allow for differences in culture and understanding between the two speakers. The caution is a frozen text. It's said exactly the same in thousands of interviews, in hundreds of police stations and other settings every day. That means that the interpreter knows what's coming and can mentally prepare a perfect translation into BSL. The interpreter into BSL cannot simply convey the words into signs. It would make no sense. The caution stresses the right to silence. Essentially, it's saying, you don't have to answer questions now, but if you don't, and later go to court and say things there that you haven't said here, the court can draw what's known as a negative inference. That is, the court will cast doubt on what you're saying there. You should have said it before. Some things may be implicit in one language but need to be made explicit in another. For example, in my suggested interpretation, you'll see that I start by saying that the police will ask you questions. I do this because it feels unnatural in BSL to launch straight into talking about not answering questions without indicating what that's a response to. Some would argue that my interpretation is too clear and that the caution is deliberately unclear to the average person. What does "it may harm your defence" and "later rely on in court" mean? If suspects really understood, wouldn't they refuse to answer questions more often? Certainly, solicitors often advise suspects to say "no comment" when there is anything less than overwhelming evidence. In practice, police officers in interviews often say the caution and then explain it in more everyday language, saying that the caution has 3 parts. I find that this adds to confusion. Now, watch my interpretation and compare it with the original.